Hey everybody, this is Ben here at That Cologne Guy coming at you with It's Time. We are taking a look at L'Instant de Guerlain, and I'm so happy that we finally get to take a look at this gem. If you found this episode because you stumbled upon it in a Google search, here's what I'd like you to get out of this episode. The main thing for me is to go over the bottles, the years, the names, and the releases, because there can be some confusion here. So, in 2005, Guerlain released L'Instant de Guerlain EDT. The following year, in 2006, they released L'Instant de Guerlain Extrême, which is affectionately, of course, the acronym is L'Instant de Guerlain Extrême, and so it is affectionately referred to in Fragcom by frag heads as Lidge. So when you see Lidge bandied about in the chats, in Fragrantica, etc., that's what they're referring to. So you always know what it is because LIDG, which I never know if it's Lidg or Lidge or what, but that is the EDT, and that one has a black cap with a clear bottle. It's clear on the sides, and then it's got some lines in the middle. Now, the following year, the 06 one, the extreme version, is referred to as Lidge, Lidge, and it is a black cap with black along the sides of the bottle, and it's got the lines going down the front. So, in 2015, they released L'Instant de Guerlain Perhomme EDP. So this one is kind of like the updated version of Lidge, Lidge, the extreme version. To my knowledge, it's the same notes, but the longevity is not as good. If you notice, and I'm not I don't know a ton about Guerlain, but it looks to me like around 2010, 11, 12, 13, around there, that they made all of their bottles the same. So you always know that it's the updated version because it has this design, which is the design of all their other bottles that I've seen, at least on the guy's side. And so it doesn't have the black cap with the the black on the sides and the lines. You can tell that's the old one, which is Lidge. This one is L'Instant de Guerlain Perhomme Eau de Parfum. And then in 2016, the following year, they released L'Instant de Guerlain EDT, which was the original one. From 05, but it's now in this bottle. So when you see this, make sure, notice here on the box, right? Notice here that it says, there it goes, EDP or Eau de Parfum, as opposed to EDT. When you hear people talking about extreme or extreme or Lidge, that is the original one, and unfortunately, that is incredibly difficult to obtain. So you're looking at eBay and you're looking at exorbitant prices. So unfortunately, I don't have that kind of money and I won't be buying it anytime soon. Although I did have a sample of it and absolutely loved it. I love this juice. Now, I'll also say quickly, before I get into the actual review, let me just say, when people talk about the EDP versus the older Extreme or Lidge, to my knowledge, same notes, but the bad news is the longevity is not as good as it used to be. It's kind of par for course, isn't it? They get us hooked on these fragrances and then they start doing reformulations. I don't know why they do that. I wish they would just kind of stick to a release and just make it easy to purchase and convenient. But they're always having us chase or go to eBay looking for these really really expensive bottles of the original formulations. So, unfortunately, the longevity is not as good. The good news, though, is it's not nearly as bad as people have said. So, the question that begs to be asked is, will this be a 5 out of 5 sprays in my review, or will this obtain the very elusive 6 out of 5 sprays? Stay tuned and find out. All right, welcome back. I'm going to talk about the notes quickly, but I will say this is truly one of those fragrances. One of those fragrances for which Yes, you can look at reviews. Yes, you can tease apart the notes, but the bottom line is you need to sample it, you need to wear it, you need to feel it, because it really does have its own aura. I know that sounds a little corny, but it absolutely does. In fact, on the box it says, L'instant de Guerlain par homme highlights a unique moment, the one in which a man takes the initiative, and after which everything will be different. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I will say that if you hear the notes and you say, I don't like this, I don't like that note, don't let that deter you, because this really is a masterpiece. It is a classic. It is a gem, and it does transcend notes and language. All right. On that corny note, let's take a look. The notes are star anise, but this one is not like Lolita Olympica au masculin. This one is not going to be like a black licorice explosion. The star anise is present here. It's very, very nice and smooth. After that, you're going to get, of course, the big player is cacao. Then after that, you have sandalwood. I pick up tea, jasmine, and patchouli. For me personally, this is really a patchouli cacao fragrance with a little bit of star anise, a little bit of tea. And I have to say, maybe it's because I've been reviewing a lot of women's perfumes lately with jasmine, but I pick up a fair amount of jasmine. A lot of people haven't noticed that, but on my skin, I pick up a fair amount of jasmine. I found it to be more prominent than others had noted. But those are the big notes there. But when you smell a masterpiece, it really isn't going to come down to a particular note. I guess if I had to choose one, it might be the cacao. But other than that, it's a gem, and it's a classic, and you should absolutely smell it. I don't know about blind buying, right? But at least sample it. So when it comes to projection, longevity, and sillage, we said earlier that the longevity is not as good as Lidge, or the extreme version. That said, it still is much, much better, though, than people bellyache about. So when it comes to projection, you are looking at about 30 minutes to 120, so about half hour or 2 hours when it comes to projection. That said, it will settle down and stay close to your skin and clothes for a very long time, about 8 to 10 hours. Just to give you an example, I'm filming on a Thursday, and I just put a shirt away from work that I wore on Tuesday. So that was 2 days ago. I just put the shirt away, and as soon as I picked it up, I could just it just hit me that it was L'Instant de Guerlain Eau de Parfum. Now, I don't spray on my clothes, so that was just in contact with my skin that had the fragrance on it. So that just tells you the longevity is much better than people say. It's just that it's not going to project, and the sillage is probably not going to be what you would like. In fact, if you had just sprayed this and not said anything, I would have thought this was an EDT, and I would not have guessed this was an EDP. So if you're going to give any critique at all to this gem, I can think of maybe perhaps two things I'd be nitpicky about, and one of them would be that. One of them would be that it really has kind of an EDT feel to it and not an EDP. So a little bit of a bummer, but as I've always said, you can turn that around and make that an advantage. If you're wearing this for a romantic night out, you do want it to project for the first 2 to 3 hours, don't you? And then you want it to settle down relatively close to your skin, so you bring others closer to you. So you can actually make that an advantage. Another advantage is that you could use it for the office. I would go easy on the trigger, though. I don't think it's an office scent, but it really is an anytime, anywhere scent, okay? So if you wore it to the office, you could do like 2 sprays, because again, it's going to settle down relatively quickly. And so if you drive to work, if it takes a while to get there by the time you spray and then get to the office, it will be relatively closer to the skin, whereas Lidge, the extreme version, would have cleared out your office. I don't think you could have pulled that off in day wear. So, you see, every disadvantage for some is an advantage for others. So something to think about. When it comes to the age and gender, I think you're going to see about an 80% split. 80-20, I think you're going to see 80% of men owning this, and I think you're going to see about 20% women. I would classify this as a clearly masculine fragrance. I think with the jasmine, the tea, the sandalwood, the star anise, obviously women could pull this off quite easily, but I think in terms of people owning it and purchasing it and having it as their signature scent, you'd probably see it as an 80-20 split. As far as age groups, so I think you're going to see mostly 30 and up on this. I guess one critique might be that it's too mature for the high schoolers and the college students and the interns and the first job, the job interviewers, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say 29 and down, they might be perhaps a little lukewarm on this one. Star Anise usually does that anyway, but the 30 and up are probably going to love this, and it does have a very classy, mature, elegant, sophisticated aroma, scent. It really does. And so whatever you think, though, it does not by any stretch of the imagination have a grandpa or grandma-ish smell to it. This is a gem. This is a masterpiece, and it is something that belongs in, frankly, everybody's collection. All right, so as long as you know what you're getting into, right? Whether it's the EDT, the EDP, or the Extreme. So this is kind of an identity complex here that Guerlain is going through with this release. Okay, when it comes to event, frankly, again, I said you could pull it off at the office. You could pull this off in evening. I'd see this probably more as evening wear, but in the season, I'm going to tell you now, it's probably going to be fall by most reviewers. Most reviewers are going to say fall. But I'm telling you right now that as far as me wearing this is going to be 365 days a year that I would grab for this. And then it would also be any event at all. Might be the office. It might be at night. Might be, you name it. It transcends all that. This is a top 10 all-time release for me. I absolutely love it. I looked for it for a very, very long time. Some of you know I looked a long time to get the extreme version. It was way, way too expensive for me, and I finally found this at a price that I could pull off. And although the longevity is not what I would have liked, I absolutely love this fragrance, and it is easily in my top 10 of all time. Okay, folks, so there you have it. That is L'Instant de Guerlain EDP, which is the one that I'm reviewing here. Here is the box for you, and then here's the box for you, and then of course here is the bottle. Now, the question I asked initially at the beginning of the episode was, is this going to be a 5 out of 5 sprays or a 6 out of 5? So here, if you follow the channel, you know that I reserve 5 out of 5 is the max, of course, and then 6, I every once in a while I will give a bonus spray. So I give a 6 out of 5. So an example would be Jubilation 25 by Amouage, which really just means it is absolute perfection. I really, really toyed with 6 out of 5 for this. I'm going to say, though, that for me, because of the EDP versus the Extreme, right? The fact that this does not have as much longevity as its original form, along with the fact that it's a little hard to find. But the counter to that, though, is that this really could be sold for $250. Absolutely. I mean, it really could. And it was a lot cheaper than that. So I have to give it to them in terms of the price, but it's so hard to find. Why did they make it so exclusive? I'm not really sure what's going on there. The other factor I would say is that, again, this might be too classy or elegant or whatever, mature for some of you guys in FragCom. So because it's 30 and up, and because the longevity is not as good as it was with the Extreme version, I will give this a 5 out of a 5. And this came dangerously close to 6 out of 5. In fact, I really, as you can tell, I really had to look for things to dock points for on this fragrance. This is just amazing. All right, so 5 out of 5, folks. Here we go. We're going to go 1 on each wrist, 1 on each side of the neck, and I'll go 1 on the chest. How's that? All right, here we go. 5 out of 5. L'instant des Guerlain eau de parfum. Yeah, come on. I don't see. I really don't see how anyone could dislike this. Come on. I mean, is it a clubbing scent? Perhaps not. Is it a prom scent? Perhaps not. Other than that, though, I mean, come on. What more do you want? And no, I'm not going the back of the neck. I'm going chest. So, you know, king for a day. Dangerously close to 6 out of 5. All right. There you have it, folks. I've been counting down the days to review this one. Really enjoyed it. I hope you have too. And always remember, fragrance marks the celebration of today. Take care, everybody. I absolutely love it. Zero buyer's remorse. I'm so glad I finally got a full bottle. I don't. If I would say right now it's not blind buyer friendly, it's only because really no fragrance is, right? I mean, you really shouldn't be in the game of blind buying. Try to get a sample of this if you can. All that I ask again is that just do the homework and make sure you know which one that you are buying, because people still refer to it as LIDG or LIDG and LIDGE, Lidge, and those are the original ones. But I think it's just because we're going through withdrawal and we love this one so much, we still call this Lidge. Anyway,